What if I were to tell you that in the Bible, one of the heroes of the faith tried to trade drugs for destiny, tried to trade drugs for sex to fulfill God's plan for them? In Genesis 30:14, it says, "One day during the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes growing in a field and brought them to his mother, Leah. Rachel begged Leah, 'Please give me some of your son's mandrakes.'" Rachel begged Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." When I first read this, I was like, what the heck are mandrakes? Why does she want them so badly? So I dig into this and I find out mandrakes are still used today in raves around the world. Mandrakes are a narcotic, an antispasmodic, and a hallucinogenic, along with an aphrodisiac. So, and then it goes on in verse 15. But Leah angrily replied, "Wasn't it enough that you stole my husband? Now will you steal my son's mandrakes too?" Rachel answered, "I will let Jacob sleep with you tonight if you give me some of the mandrakes." This sounds like a Jerry Springer episode, doesn't it? Crazy. My question to you, though, is what would you trade to get what you so desperately want? In Genesis 30, Rachel was so desperate for a child, she traded mandrakes, a narcotic drug, for a night with her husband. Let that sink in. Rachel tried to trade drugs for destiny, but her plan didn't work. It actually backfired. And in the end, God came through not because of drugs or deals, but because of divine timing. Today we're going to check this out. We're going to check out how God's promises aren't fulfilled through our manipulation, shortcuts, or substances, but through simple faith. You know, desperation can lead to some really dangerous deals. I remember when I was homeless on the streets, I was very desperate and I did some crazy stuff. And desperation often puts people in situations where they can either turn and trust God or try and do it on their own. So here's the situation. Rachel is barren, jealous, and angry. Leah keeps having son after son, and Rachel is left empty. She cries out to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." How dramatic, right? First, she gives her maid to Jacob, hoping to claim her children. Then comes the mandrakes. Reuben, Leah's son, finds some mandrakes in the field, small plants with hallucinogenic and narcotic properties. You see, in the ancient world, taking mandrakes was like going to a fertility clinic. But they weren't medicine. They were mind-altering drugs associated with superstition, magic, and false hope. Rachel wanted a child so badly, she was willing to bargain with drugs to get it. "You can sleep with Jacob tonight, Leah. Just you give me the mandrakes." And what happened? Leah got pregnant. Rachel didn't. Rachel got the mandrakes, but Leah got the miracle. The drug didn't deliver. The shortcut didn't succeed. Rachel tried to manipulate a miracle using a narcotic. She tried to control the promise of God. But the truth is, you can't drug your way into a destiny. You can't fix a spiritual problem with chemical solutions. Formulas don't replace faith. What mandrakes are you using today? What mandrakes are you holding on to? Is it something you think maybe gives you more energy? Maybe more creativity. A shortcut that you think will help you win? Is it something you're trading to feel like you're in control of your future, maybe? God has given you a glimpse of what he has for you, and he will fulfill it. Any effort on your part that was not initiated by God will end up in frustration and failure. Trust me, I know. Let's take God at his word. If he said it, he'll do it. God's will, God's bill. You see, mandrakes represents our efforts to control what only God can give. In Genesis 30, 22 through 24, it says, "Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and opened her womb. She gave birth to Joseph." It wasn't the mandrakes. It wasn't the trade. It wasn't the night with Jacob. It was God's mercy in his time. When the text says God remembered Rachel, it doesn't mean he forgot her. It means he acted on his word, like he always does. He moved not because she manipulated him, but because he was always faithful to his plan. Rachel tried to trade a narcotic for a newborn, but her plan failed, and God's plan prevailed. We don't need to trade drugs, shortcuts, or manipulation to receive God's promise. We need to surrender and trust. Yes, it's okay to put hope in what God says, but we must wait till it comes to pass. And we need to ask him, what do I do in the waiting, Lord? Because, you see, God didn't respond to Rachel's scheming. He responded to her heart. So here's the challenge for us. Put down your mandrakes and pick up your faith. Stop chasing fake fixes and start waiting on the authentic move of God. When we try and do it on our own, we will just end up postponing what God has for us. I believe that if Rachel wouldn't have tried to take matters into her own hands, God would have responded to his word sooner. What we do while we're waiting matters. Worship in the waiting. Delight in the Lord. It's not up to us to fulfill what God has told us. It's just up to us to believe. Because when God shows up, miracles happen. Destinies are born. And your story gets rewritten.